The experience of working on Yellowstone was transformational. Critics hammered us when they watched the pilot, and they were like, this is not gonna make it, it's not gonna be this. And we remember like, oh my gosh, we thought this was so good, and it's Kevin Costner, and it's Taylor Sheridan, and it's Paramount. We always did just good enough to keep getting renewed. And then about a couple years in, it just blew up. And because of that, it's changed my entire life. I got an opportunity to be around these seasoned actors that have been around for 30, 40 years. Not just, the Kevin Costners of the world who's been 45 years, but like Cole Hauser, who plays Rip, or Kelly Riley. And then my other friends like, Jefferson White, Ian Bowen, Luke Grimes, and watching what they have done in their careers and how they have managed and moved from the 80s to the 90s, it was life-changing. And I remember I learned how to like have other businesses from them, because I remember it was like, hey, Denim, you can't just be like a one-trick pony. Like eventually this ends. The show could just get canceled. Get canceled tomorrow. And what would you have done? And I think that, from the marketing standpoint for an actor, I think that that's something that's really key, is about learning how to diversify. Like, don't get stuck at where you are. My dad always says that every job that you get is a pearl, and your job at the end of your life is to put together as many pearl necklaces as possible. A lot of actors look to Hollywood, right, for, going in and finding or sourcing an opportunity. But Hollywood now is more of an idea than it is a location. So much of your television shows now are filming outside of Los Angeles, right? Like Yellowstone, we're in Montana, we're in Utah, we're in Texas. A lot of your shows are in Canada. Now they're in the, the eastern side of the United States. It's now changed to everywhere. So I think as an artist, you have to be a lot more flexible as far as your locations, and I always tell people, no matter where I go in the world, for actors that want to do this for a living, I say, do you want to be a successful actor, or do you want to be a successful actor only if it's in Hollywood? Because if that's the case, you're really limiting your scope. So I think if you can broaden your scope into understanding that Hollywood is now everywhere, I think you'll have some really good opportunities. A costly and a very unfortunately common mistake that most creatives, artists make, is they get surrounded by people that don't understand the business that they're in. Unfortunately, we see a lot of super, super talented individuals, and then you go and you meet their manager, and their manager is like an ex-boyfriend or an ex-girlfriend or a cousin. And then you ask them like, well, what, outside of them just being in a close relationship with you, what are their qualifications? And what happens is then you try to take them to a bigger corporation, and they don't even know the right questions to ask. And so I think that, part of the thing is like, there's this loyalty thing of like, the reason why we're here is because of all of us, and all that is true. But, business is about scaling, right? And you have to continuously be scaling. And if you don't pivot, you're going to die. And I think there's a lot of artists that unfortunately get so stuck on the loyalty, where I say this thing that your loyalty is going to be your loss. Not saying that being loyal is bad, but loyalty, oftentimes unmatched loyalty and unchecked loyalty, ultimately will lose all of your opportunities. And then you'll be sitting around super confused. And oftentimes what happens is the managers are your first kind of line of defense. And if you have a manager that doesn't understand the business, what they're afraid of is that they're now afraid that you're going to now go past what their abilities are, and then they're going to have no value anymore. So my whole thing is surround yourself with people that do this for a living, and then the sky's the limit. My respectful suggestion to brands as far as standing out is, you have to lean on what the people are asking for. I think oftentimes, you get brands are run by these giant corporations on average, right? And these giant corporations have a lot of degrees and they have that, and they're around in these think tanks. They spend a lot of money with them, but very often they're not really with their consumer all the time. And I think now reaching out to people that are with the consumers all the time that can talk about what the consumer wants, I think is better. So I think brands meeting you at where you're at instead of you saying, hey, because we're such and such, you're going to come up to where we are and you're going to like it. I think that's where a lot of brands get themselves in trouble, where they have a really good product and then they start to make a lot of money and then they stop doing what got them there, which is being at the, at the place. I think there was a place in the United States called Sam's Club. And I remember when I was younger, you travel around like on a Saturday or Sunday, and they would always have all of the samplers, right, of the food that you would buy, or you could talk to somebody that was there. And then at some point they just stopped doing that because they're like, oh, our brand is successful now. We no longer have to send a rep out and have people trying our brand. And I think those are the types of things that make people want to continue to support you because they feel connected. And I think brands need to get back to, and hopefully will get more connected back with the consumer instead of using it just as a mass marketer.